Today we're going to meet Johnny Beardy, another central character of the story, and also one of the few actual human characters in a tale loaded with critters, freaks, and chicken-human hybrids. An ex-rock star, Johnny Beardy's life took a major fork in the road when Deep Cluck befriended him at one of his gigs and then coerced him into joining his revolution to save his beloved chickens. Eventually, Beardy becomes Deep Cluck's closest confidant until Deep Cluck begins to go too far over the deep end and Johnny begins to wonder what has happened to his friend. And with that, here's a bit about Johnny Beardy, give you an idea of just who this guy is. Hope you enjoy it. Even as a little kid, Johnny Beardy was quite the stud, or at least that's the way he tells it. If I was telling my own story, that's probably the way I tell it too. So who really knows, right? Then again, who cares? It's a good story. Anyway, as Beardy tells it, he always had an eye for the female figure, even back at that age when females don't have any figure to speak of. But just the promise of a figure was good enough for him. While all the other little tykes were jumping around inside the sandbox building castles and playing war games, little Beardy was gaming on the females. He got his first good feel when he was about 8. By the time he was 12, he'd already talked some young substitute teacher into letting him play with her tits one day after school was out. A few months later, that same substitute teacher was back at school teaching that same slow learner English class, and this time Beardy talked his way in a little further, if you catch my meaning. Yeah, right, that's what I said. How you figure a slow learner can find a way to talk that fast? Must not be so slow if he can put his sentences together good enough to pull that off, if he pulled it off. Moving right along, by the time Beardy was 15, was when he found out he had the kind of singing voice that could make him some money and get him laid any time of day or night. Actually, to tell the truth, Beardy didn't have so much of a voice for singing as he did a perfect scream, the kind that summons all the pain and all the joy you've ever felt to come rushing through your bloodstream like a tidal wave. It really was a pretty amazing sound, and I never was one to like the rock stuff. But even I had to admit that scream of his was some kind of gift from above, or below, or somewhere. But it was definitely a gift, and it was definitely unlike anything you had ever heard before. As Beardy got older and started to learn how to really use that thing, and after he'd started to get the hang of how to wear that rock star status like a broken-in suit, he started to get the big-time recognition and the big-time money. With those chiseled angles and hard curves that defined his face and torso, teeth sparkling like some kind of toothpaste commercial every time he grinned, the kid was made to be on magazine covers. He was golden. His shows would sell out even the biggest auditoriums within an hour of any announcement that he was going to be there. He had the limos, the planes, the glitz, the glamour, the whole thing. He was a wannabe rock star's wettest wet dream. And that's right around the time when he met Deep Cluck. Wasn't long after that when his life became about as stable as a penguin on roller skates. No one who thought they knew Beardy even had the slightest clue what the hell was going on with him. No one who had been part of his entourage for all those years, or who thought they had been one of his best friends just because he told them they were and he let them ride a tour bus occasionally, ever saw anything like this coming. True enough, they all had to know that the gravy train was going to have to roll to a stop one of these days, because even the best parties have to shut down eventually. But absolutely nobody thought the party would be the victim of death by a geek, which is pretty much what happened. One week, Beardy's taking town after town by storm, getting rave reviews in the press after each performance, and gearing up for his first overseas tour that was scheduled to kick off several months later. Then, one night after the final show of a 3-night Mercy gig in some small out-of-the-way town out west, Beardy called it a Mercy gig because it was in one of those places where everything was too far away, where the kids almost never got a chance to see a decent live gig. Beardy had just finished waving goodnight to a gymnasium packed full with several thousand sweating, desperately screaming small-town kids. He had left the stage, grabbed the towel one of his assistants had left hanging for him at a nearby railing on the way to his dressing room, and was wiping his face as he cursed and swore at the top of his lungs about how fucking hot it was in there and how much it stank and how this was the last fucking time he was ever fucking going to do one of these fucking Mercy shows ever again. Look, I better let him tell it. And if you want to read the book, you'll get a chance to hear him tell it. That's actually the next scene that comes after that one. So that was a little bit about Johnny Beardy and some of his background. And stick around. I got 3 more characters to go before we do the launch on July 21st. Hope you're enjoying these readings, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot.